Well, hello, hello. Welcome to Paranormal Hotseat. I am Donna Guerin. I am your host. And with me is Michael Ann Gilpin. She is my guest co host for tonight. Stacy was unable to join us, she's out partying. So tonight we have an open mic. We have a returning guest who is Eric Extreme with Mount Washington Valley Spirit Paranormals. And we have Brian Horton from PD Region Paranormal, and I guess I should have brought him in and then introduced him, then brought him in. So we have Eric. And we have Brian. Hey, what's up, guys?
What's going on?
Thanks for joining me. Appreciate it.
No problem.
Yeah, so we were talking a little bit in the backstage about the differences between you guys' style. How Eric is the scientific aspect of it, and you guys are going old school, and you're not going to be using equipment. So
Exactly.
want to come and compare notes? So, Brian, I'll let you start. What brought all of this on?
It's like, I sit back and watch, doing investigation stuff. Seems like we're paying more attention to our equipment and staring at that, seeing what the equipment's doing, not paying attention to the surroundings and feeling what you're feeling and catching stuff out your eye and looking around you, what's going on. Instead, you're focused more on the equipment and everything.
Yep. Yeah. Oh, just getting your text that says, "What's the link?" Too funny. So, okay. So you guys gonna use what did you guys say? An old reel to reel?
Yeah, we're gonna try to use the old reel to reel and use the analog recorders and a little bit with the digital recorders and things like that.
Really old school. You're gonna do candles too? That
Oh yeah.
methodology.
We're
I like
gonna
the
use candles and stuff. Yeah.
Yep. Definitely like the candles.
Yeah, I like my digital recorder. That's probably one of my favorite things to use. So, Eric, what is probably the most important evidence that you've caught using? Because I know you can kind of tell him like some of the stuff. I know you explained before when you were on, but kind of explain what you do.
Oh, I'm on the other side of the spectrum, actually. When I first got into this, I was doing the ghost hunting, basically what you see on TV, just like anyone else. And I felt I needed more. I wanted to be able to explain the who's, what's, when's, where, why's, and how's. So I started getting deeply, deeply involved with the science end of things. So where most groups are going in an attempt to verify or find paranormal activity, I'm on the other end of the spectrum, and I'm trying to basically, for all intents and purposes, explain it with science. In my saying is the science comes before the spooky, and for me, I don't feel comfortable designated something as paranormal if I haven't ruled out all the normal yet. So my investigations rely very heavily on a wide variety of sciences.
Yeah, we got Taryn Kerper that just popped in from Paranormal Brew. Hey, Taryn.
What's up,
Hey.
Taryn?
Hi guys.
Hello.
How are you?
We're good. We sit up here comparing notes in the different styles of investigations that the guys do.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sorry, I just popped on.
Oh, you're fine. I think my sister might try to pop in too.
Yeah.
So
How's everybody?
yeah, we're good.
Outstanding.
So
It's
did you guys
awesome.
get snow out there where you are too?
God, no, thank God.
Eric,
No.
Eric said he had quite a bit of snow.
Well, it's saying that first they were saying we were supposed to be getting snow towards the end of the week, like Christmas wise. Now that just keeps getting smaller and smaller. So hopefully no snow. I hate snow. I hate cold weather. I hate all that stuff. So I don't want any of it.
Well, you in Jersey, so you got to be, you got to get used to it. Well, yeah, you got to deal with it.
Yep. Unfortunately, what could make this state worse? Snow.
Well, they got it up in the high country here, but yeah. So we were just chit chatting about Eric does the scientific aspect of paranormal investigations and how Brian and Robert are going to be going old school. So that's basically what we were just talking about.
Yeah. Me, I caught the end of Eric's, what he was saying. I mean, I try to be as scientific as possible. We all know that I am not, I am like technically, um, you know, I struggle with technical stuff. So when it comes to anything like equipment that's made for paranormal investigating, I tend to kind of stay away from. I like the stuff that's not made for paranormal investigation, things that electricians would use and stuff like that. But I do, if I'm somewhere in the haunted location, or like a to raise money for, or do something like that, I'll use trigger props and things like of that nature, like a cat, or you know um and I get my stuff from Vortex Ghost Gear, because they do a really, really good job with their stuff. So I don't have that much equipment, but the stuff that I do have is from them.
Yeah,
Um, but I like to use myself and my recorder. That's about it.
yeah. Sound like the Robert and Brian. Hey, Robert. Hey, Andrew. Thanks for joining us.
Now that would go against anything that, like, so like if I was on an investigation, Eric could argue anything with science, I guess. You know what I mean? Except for EVPs, I think they're a little bit harder for science to argue when you hear it and then you catch the whole thing on
Yeah,
recorder as well.
yeah,
So if I hear something and I say I hear it, and then you hear that whole thing happen on the recorder, I think things like that are a little bit harder to try to prove scientific wise, because you don't know where it came from.
yeah,
Well, that's something different completely. With EVP, you're getting into, possible radio interference. But with DVP, direct voice phenomenon, which is what you're referring to, you can pretty much rule out electronic interference in most cases, because your ears are not susceptible to that same type of
frequency. Yeah,
electric artifact that the voice recorders are susceptible to. Although you can put a voice recorder in what's called a Faraday bag, it'll block out about 95% of the radiation that comes from
yeah,
radio signals. I personally prefer to use those, but yeah, what you're referring to, DVP, is a whole different ballgame.
Oh yeah. I actually too, recently started to wonder if um, spirit can hear better via recorder the way we hear better via recorder. So, because I leave my recorders going the whole entire time, where a lot of people do the EVP bursts.
yeah.
So,
I'm gonna pop my sister in real quick.
yeah,
There she is,
uh,
Anna. Say
we
hey.
did. I found three times this past year that um, when we were listening back to the EVP bursts, my recorder picked up an answer the second time the question was replayed, or the third time the question was replayed through the burst. Then we picked up an EVP. I was also live, and it didn't come up on any other. Like, I was live on YouTube, Facebook. It didn't come up on any other recording device.
Wow.
So that was something else interesting that has happened three times this past year.
Oh wow. I've heard. Well, one little hack radio. I've heard voices because I'll have my external speaker hooked up to it, and then I'll have my recorder going. But I've actually heard voices come across, not just the radio, because you can tell a difference between a disembodied voice and the radio. So
Absolutely.
then I'll go, "Hey, what was that?" And then I'll get a response. I was like, "Oh, well, that was cool."
Yeah, I can't. I'm not a fan of spirit boxes and stuff like that and all that. I know what you said that you have. I remember you were saying something about it. It's a little different.
Yeah,
Something
it's
that you
different in the
use is a
spirit
little
box.
different.
Yeah,
Um, but for me, I like to just, because I feel like it messes up my hearing. Like, I can't really hear
yeah,
when they're on and everything.
yeah.
Um, I do like what Ron Yacovetti does. I always talk about him. He does the direct radio voice. He uses a frequency that isn't used. I'm probably going to use the wrong words, so don't hold me to this quote for quote. But it doesn't run on a radio frequency. It runs on a different, like a frequency level on its own. There's no radio waves or no towers or something. I don't know. He explained it to me, but somehow, like, there's no, like, it's sweeping, but it's not sweeping radio waves.
Okay,
If that makes sense.
and maybe one of the guys knows exactly what you're talking about.
Rob would know that because he deals with all the frequencies and things.
Oh, okay.
I've actually, I have the highest level of license for amateur radio communications, and I have to admit, I'm not quite sure what you're referring to there.
Yeah, if you go to he does. It's called direct radio voice. I've I've investigated with him a few times, and every time I make him explain it because I could not. I've heard him explain this 4 or 5 times, and I still cannot repeat it. So, like, I think you like have to know your stuff to be able to like get it. But apparently he used a frequency. I remember it was like 222 or something like that, and it was like he said that nothing was there was no radio tower, no radio waves, no something that was coming to this device, and we were getting voices.
He
So
was
it wasn't like
probably
the
using.
sleeping radio. It wasn't sleeping radio. It was like just white noise. And
He
then
was.
we would go ahead.
I'm sorry, I was going to say he's probably listening to what's known as a clear channel. It's basically a frequency that's not generally used in the area by any other, business or commercial entity. So the chances of picking up, at least locally, any radio signals is slimmer, especially that frequency. I mean, you can get into tropospheric ducting and ionospheric propagation. I won't get into that technical stuff, but at that particular frequency you're mentioning, around 222 megahertz, there's a possibility of tropospheric ducting, but it's not as strong as other bands.
I'll trust what you're saying.
He's like, woo!
So, long story short, in the just below the ionosphere, up in the troposphere, you can get a situation where radio signals get trapped in between the different air fronts, and it can actually travel hundreds or thousands of miles from a longer distance. But that is more apt to happen somewhere around 50 to 100 megahertz. So once you get up to about 220 something, it's much less apt to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. I see, I again, I'm not 100% sold on all of that stuff, but I think that way of using some sort of a radio, like a device as far as like a spirit, because it's not technically a spirit box, but I feel like that way is probably the closest I've come to like really paying a little bit more attention to what's coming out of the speakers that we're listening to.
Yeah. Taryn, have you met my sister before? I don't think you have.
I have
This is,
not.
this is my sister Anna. She is actually my researcher for the Central Arizona team.
Hi, how are you?
Pretty good. How's
Nice
everybody?
to meet you.
And then Eric, and then Brian, about. So yeah, just everybody get to know him.
Yeah, my Wednesday show got canceled.
Oh, did it?
Good times.
Wait a minute. I thought we were just on your Wednesday show.
Last Wednesday, yeah. No, this Wednesday coming up.
Oh, okay. This Wednesday coming up. Okay. Yeah, we're gonna this is gonna be the last show for a couple of weeks. We're taking Christmas and New Year's off because they both fall on a Sunday, so we'll be out for a couple of weeks. But
Oh yeah. See, now Wednesdays. Nope, I'm not stopping. I'm booked all the way to March.
oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're in the middle of the week.
Yeah, Wednesday, hump day. Picked it for a reason.
So what about Anna and Michael? You guys have a favorite piece of equipment that you like to use over anything else?
My third eye.
Your third eye. There you go.
Recorder for the most part, where you can hear what's
Yeah.
going on.
Well, I forgot to say Michael's one of our psychic mediums on the Arizona team, so that she does have that third eye she can rely on.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I love equipment, and I love it when it proves me right with what I'm seeing, because people can't see what I see. So it's interesting when you get the physical evidence of the paranormal with what matches up to what I'm seeing and what, validation is all about.
Michael likes that SLS camera.
I do. I love me some stick figures.
Yeah,
He looked like a man.
I feel like it can pick up anything and make it look like a stick figure. Don't you?
Yeah.
I mean, I do. I mean, I understand using like some of the equipment. Like I get it. Like, but sometimes I just, and maybe it's because I don't understand it, or maybe it's because I don't. I don't like things that are made specifically for that because I feel like
Yeah,
there could be too many things that go
On the
that
show, but
could
apparently
interfere
now
yeah. When
or
I
be
first time,
programmed to do.
coming in.
Michael, what are you doing? When I first the first night I
I've
went out with
got sisters in the kitchen, and I didn't. I thought they were sleeping, and they're not. So, um, yeah, it'll be just a second.
okay,
Hi, Michael's
but
sisters.
Howdy.
but the first night I went out, when I joined the group, is we were at one of the cemeteries, and it was the first time I used the SLS, and it was mapping bushes and trees and a little bit of everything. I think
Hmm.
it was mapping everything but what we wanted it to do.
Yeah. Yeah, I like using a FLIR. I like using, night vision goggles. I like using baby powder, compasses,
Oh, wait.
digital recorders.
Okay, so what's the trick with the baby powder?
Well, if you put it on the floor, and mind you, I've never had this happen, but I want to one day. But if you put it on the floor, and something walks through,
Oh,
it would pick up whatever walks through, or if something were to disturb the baby powder.
oh,
Um,
okay, that makes sense.
yeah. Um, and I like my favorite is the old school tri-field meter, the dial one, where you have to adjust the dial to get it to be real quiet. Yes, I know there's still interference with that as well, but um, I'm old school.
Yeah,
I
I know
like the old
Eric's probably
school.
sitting there going, "Man, this is a lot of low tech stuff for you, huh?"
Well, see, I take it a completely different angle where I'm going and trying to explain things with science versus attempting to catch paranormal activity. I'm using various equipment. I'm using an infrasound analyzer, an ultrasound analyzer. I'm using gas detectors,
Yeah,
air
but
quality
everybody should use
detectors.
that stuff.
I'm sorry?
I feel like everybody should use that stuff as
Yeah,
well. Even if you are going in there looking for spirits. You know what I mean? If you are going in there hoping to connect with something, or trying to communicate, you should be using things that are going to rule that out.
Right. Yep.
exactly. I mean, I'm also using like a form of a Geiger counter. I'm using EMF detectors up and down the entire spectrum. It's for me, my goal is to try and explain something with science first, because then if I can't explain it with science, I pass it on to my board of advisors, which are a bunch of people with PhDs that I know. And if they can't figure out, then I'll possibly, look into it as being paranormal, but I don't want false positives. So for me, I need to rule out any scientific possibilities first.
How many positives do you have?
In my entire 30 years of doing research and 14 years of investigations, I would only say once or twice where I'd be willing to say there was something I could not even remotely explain with science.
Where was that at?
I talked about it actually on a previous episode. I was at the Rolling Hills Asylum with
Rolling
Barry
Hills. I love it.
Fitzgerald. Barry and I, back in the day, some of the members of the Ghost Hunters teams were in Ghost Hunters International, forgive me, were doing these side hustle events. It wasn't officially sponsored by Ghost Hunters, but they were allowed to use the name. Anyway, Barry and I were doing a lot of experiments with sound. We were kind of teaching a class about spirit communication to some of the members there. And all of a sudden we start getting this voice coming back at us answering. So it was a direct voice phenomenon, a DVP. We made sure, being old school, everyone and their mother in that room had a K2 meter and a voice
Mhm.
recorder. We're like, turn everything off. I want everything out of here. I want all tech out of here. But then for about 10 minutes, we had a conversation with something that we could not see. I tried to debunk, it would be the commonly understood term. Did all kinds of research. We searched the room for any kinds of technology. I mean, we could see everyone. No one was throwing their voice. And Barry mentioned, acknowledged this a couple shows ago that he was on here, but we could not even remotely come up with a scientific explanation for it. That's one of the few.
Rolling Hills is my it's my top two places I've ever been to. It was amazing. Rolling Hills was amazing. I had so many personal physical experiences that I can't explain. Um, and heard so many disembodied voices. I heard little kids singing London Bridge is falling down, and
Wow.
I heard the first thing I heard when we first got there was a psych scream, and this scream I can't even. I, it was so loud. We went running down the hallways trying to figure out everybody else. There's out of a group of 25, only 3 of us heard it,
Wow.
which is strange, But there were so many things that happened there. On the floor where at the end of the hall was the TB ward. Um, I was with a group, and the first thing that happened was there was a room filled with like aluminum chairs, and we kept hearing like this tinking noise, tink, 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 tink. It's aluminum chairs. They were all folded up and thrown in there, so we were standing right outside the door. You couldn't even really get in the room. And we were just standing there listening, me and another girl. And we were we were saying to each other, like, do you hear that? Do you hear? It just sounded like every time we would say something, like we would go, hello, and it'd be like, tink, tink, and be quiet. We're like, hello, tink, tink, and then we'd be quiet.
Wow.
And we're like talking to each other, like, are you hearing this here? And all of a sudden, I heard this goofy laugh. It was like, ho, 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 ho. But I could feel the breath on my cheek.
Wow.
And I get chills to this day thinking about it. And I said to her, we both looked at each other. She's like, did you hear that? I'm like, hear that? I felt that on my cheek.
Wow.
It was just anything that I can have experienced that night, which I don't rarely see. I don't rarely see anything. I'm not a psychic medium. I just go in and I'm an investigator. I guess I'm very nosy. So I will try and pull up wooden boards and open up closets and all kinds of things to try to see what's going on. But Rolling Hills.
We went to the 1910 old YMCA in Globe, and Michael was with us, and we didn't catch a whole lot on our equipment. But right as we're getting ready to leave, Charles, my tech guy, he was walking the building looking for a piece of equipment that I could not find. And so he started whistling. I got on the walk. I was like, are you whistling? He goes, yeah. Right after that, we heard a woman laugh. And Michael and I, we kind of looked around at each other. It was like, did y'all hear that? It was like, yeah. As soon as we get ready to leave, we hear this. I mean, it was
loud. It was a loud laugh.
Yeah. And we're like, and all of the women that was there were in that room, and it was none of us that laughed. So I was like, okay, you're laughing now that we're leaving.
Yeah.
It was like, ha. I'm like, ha, you too. Thanks for nothing.
Yeah. I saw something that night, and I don't know what it is, so I can't really 100% say it was anything paranormal. Could it have been my eyes playing tricks on me? Yes, absolutely. But like on that same floor where I heard that voice, like, or felt the laugh, or heard that laugh and felt the breath. That was the TB room was down the end of the hallway, and it had those typical hospital doors, where you got the 2 little creepy windows.
Yeah.
And, the doors swing open. Well, I looked down there and I saw I could see like what looked like the silhouette of a person like walk past those windows.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I counted the people because I knew how many I had in my group. I'm like, yeah, we're all here. And my heart was pounding out of my fucking chest. Ooh, sorry. And I went down there and I was like, I have to, there's got to be somebody in there. I went in there, opened the door, and there was nobody in there.
Wow.
So I don't know what that was, but and as soon as I knew nobody was in there, I turned right back around and I ran up the hallway. Back to my group. I was like, no, don't like that.
Well, Brian, we know you're 30 years. We know that you've come across some stuff.
Oh yeah, quite a few stuff. Oh yeah.
Yeah. What happened? Did you catch anything when you went to St. Albans? What was it, a week or two ago?
Yeah, it was one of those events where everybody comes together and just goes and investigates and stuff. I just sit back and watch. People had all the equipment on the floor, like hundreds and hundreds of REM pods. They're sitting there paying attention to that. I catch myself off in the corner, sitting there listening to things and watching the shadows and just picking up on everything. So if you think my son saw his first apparition, that was pretty cool.
Oh, well, that's cool.
I don't think
So
I've ever seen anything.
I
I don't
haven't
think I've
either.
ever seen anything.
I
I'm not. Yeah.
But I
once you
haven't been
go,
doing it as long as these guys have either. So
you go to
I'm
St.
still,
Albans, you'll see something.
yeah, I can't wait for that. What was it, May of next year?
Yep.
Yeah. No, I've been, I've been an enthusiast since like '04, and then started really getting more interested in '07, and then joined a group in 2011. So, that's how long I've really been doing the investigating and of course when you first start out, you think you got to buy all this equipment, you
Yep.
Yeah,
know, and you're kind of like you see what they do on TV, so you think that's like, how you're
that's
supposed
how it's supposed to be. Yeah,
you know, and you learn, like what was as time goes on, you learn, you're like, yeah, no, that caveman
yeah,
there, no, that all this other stuff is like, it's just it's a lot
yeah.
harder than what it looks on TV. They make it look so easy.
Well, you have to take
You know,
into account with these television programs, they're doing like 4 or 5 days of recording, condensing it down to an hour, adding in spooky music.
Yeah,
They have acting. I've worked for these guys before. They've taken acting classes. They're made to hey, act as if there's something coming out of the right side of the view. And, because no one's going to watch a TV show of an actual paranormal investigation. It's
right.
going to be hours and hours of boring. So these TV shows are nothing but, semi-reality entertainment shows. They're not a representation of how to conduct a paranormal investigation. However, they are being used as a template for anyone new coming into the field because how are they
right,
going to know any better?
right.
So it's people unfortunately are starting off almost with a handicap because
Yep,
they don't understand that that is not how any of this works, not even
right,
Yeah.
close.
right.
That's one thing I love about Parafam too, Taryn, that everybody is coming from all different experiences. Brian and Robert, they got 30 years of experience. I'm new at it. I've been at it, for a year, even though I've been had interest in it, probably about 10 years or so. But, you get the people teaching you and you're learning and, you learn what to do and what not to do.
Yeah, and it's something you have to be careful. I think Eric, you say it. That's why I started Paranormal Brew because it first was originally supposed to be. Listen, we have some of the best conversations either drinking beers or having coffee and just talking paranormal, like amongst ourselves. So it
Yeah.
started out as a round table, like type of a show. And then some of the shows started coming out where everything is demons and everything is that, and like it was so exaggerated. So, so then I started to say, you know what, I'm going to use Paranormal Brew as a way to educate people who are getting into
Yeah.
the field and bring on the people that are the OGs of this that
Yeah.
know, or the people that really do their research and they're not just running around in a cemetery saying, come and attack me if you want. I'm here.
Right.
Like,
Right.
Right.
That's funny. Michael says the TV shows are crap. You're right about that.
I mean, I will say I do love ghost hunters. I always have. I always have. I love Jason and all them. But I do know that it's entertainment and I do know that it's
Yeah.
a TV show. That's
Yeah.
the difference. My 13-year-old niece doesn't know that. So what she's watching, she's taking that as like it's like what Eric said, that's how it's this template, this is how you're supposed to do it, and this is what's gonna
Yeah.
happen if I do this,
Yeah.
and
I
it ain't
like
like
watching Destination Fear. They're kind of funny. Some of their reactions.
yeah. See, I don't know. I should probably not say I should. I mean, I've already talked to them about it, and I told them my beef with their show. They totally loved it. I was very respectful. I wasn't saying it
Yeah.
in a mean way, you
Yeah.
know. But I said, I've always told like if you're not in a good frame of mind, don't go on an investigation. You
Mhm.
Right.
got to be, in a good frame. You got to feel okay, this and that. And here they're trying to make themselves be afraid and trying to make themselves get into this big, and then going into a location, and
Yeah.
you know, I don't know. I just don't. But it's again TV show and it's entertainment.
It makes good TV, and just like what Barry, when he was talking about when he was on the show about when you go on investigations, make sure you're grounding yourself. You don't go in there with any baggage, so to say, and just go in there with a clear mind before you go in and do these investigations, so you don't have any issues.
Right.
Well, it's
Yeah.
important to actually also not have like be loaded up on caffeine and all these other
Oh
nervous
yeah,
system
yeah,
stimulants. But you want to go in with a neutral. You don't want to go in there believing everything you're going to see is paranormal like the TV shows do. You
right.
know, you're going to if you want to complete an investigation versus a ghost hunt, you got to go in neutral. It's the only way to actually, get some validity to what you're doing.
Yeah, I agree. Like I like to get the historical true facts of a location. Save the ghost stories. I don't want to hear that, oh, we think that this is Mary Jane and she lost her son, so she's in here crying and
Oh
doing
yeah.
this. How they think like that they give life form to these things that they are experiencing, and I don't want to hear those. I want to hear the facts. Like, I want
Yeah,
to hear the facts of the site. I want to hear the
Mhm.
historical facts of the site. And then that's it. Let me go in ghostly blind, if you will. I don't know how else to say it. They
yeah,
walk you around, they do a walkthrough, and they say, "Well, we hear this stuff here, we hear this stuff there." I don't want to hear that. I want to experience stuff on my own.
yeah. And usually before we go on a location, my sister Anna, she will do some research on it. There we went to, was it Globe that we went to? You found that like that 200 and something page PDF.
Miami.
Miami, Arizona. So she was like, I found a PDF, and she sent it to me. It was like 280 something pages. I was like, that's my girl. That's the way you do it.
Trying to read through all this, but there's a lot of info in there.
Yeah, there was a lot of information there. It had kind of a dark history.
Yeah, and then you gotta see. Then you gotta like. I mean, that's is a lot of work. But then you also have to remember. You're you're reading what somebody's else has written down. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? So
true.
is
Yeah,
their account even 100%? You
yeah,
know, you don't. You never know.
yeah, that's true.
Then once you hear all that, once you get in a location, you start thinking your mind starts playing tricks. So, okay, that's what I heard, and that's what they're talking about.
Yeah.
It's called the observer expectancy effect.
Hmm. I knew there would be a word for that.
There's a word for everything.
There's a
I
word.
was saying, of course, Eric knows it.
What's up, Michael?
Mhm.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know. I think when I first started out, I was like full fledged, like I was a believer. You couldn't tell me nothing. And now, I mean, I do believe because I've had a lot of personal experiences, but not, I'm not like running into a location like thinking everything is paranormal and everything is, you know what I mean? Like for the
Right,
most part,
right. That's
for the
you
most
got to
part,
look for the other
yeah,
reasons of stuff going on, right? And there's, of course, that's what I've learned doing this. You just can't say, oh, like the a door swung open on me the one day when we were in Oracle, and then I was like, okay, so the door opened, and we're closing it, trying to make sure that it's latched all the way before it just swings back open again. So you gotta just little stuff like that. But
yeah.
we did have an instance where the back door kept opening, and Eric Eldon knows that he closed that door and latched it. So I think Michael, was it you that noticed that the door was
Yeah,
open
I was
again?
like, the door's open. It was like, what do you mean I latched it? I'm like, it's open.
And of course, when I set my video camera up to record the door, it quit opening, and it's like, okay. And I think it did it with
Yeah.
like 2 or 3 times. It kept opening up on its own.
But see,
Mhm.
there's the thing. There's the point that Eric brought up earlier. Like these people are in locations for 5 days. Had you had more time, and had you left your video camera on the
Right.
door
I probably could have caught it
longer,
opening. Yep.
maybe there would have been an explanation for why it happened, how it happened,
Yep.
whatever the case may, you know what I mean, and would have given another chance for whatever to happen.
Yeah.
You know?
Because of course, like I say, we're there 6, 7 hours or whatever it was, so
If
you
you're
can
lucky.
everything. Yeah, if you're lucky, right? Because I think some of the guys we had some guest investigators come. We got there about 8, and like at midnight, they were like, "Okay, I'm calling it. We're gonna go." So after they leave, we some stuff started happening. It's like, man, it gets good after midnight. Come on,
Yeah.
that's when
I think
stuff starts happening.
I think one of the coolest things that's ever happened to me was I wasn't even ghost hunting. I was getting ready to leave. I was at work. I was the last one at work, and we're done at 8 o'clock, and it's 7:55, and I'm just waiting, literally bag on my hand, looking at the clock, just waiting, and I hear a woman just say, "What is this place?"
Oh,
Loud, very loud. I could have swore to you there was a woman in the building with me, like right around the corner.
wow.
So I said hello. I get up. I start walking around. It was an older house type of a doctor's office.
Yeah.
Um, so you could hear somebody walk down the steps. You could hear, I mean, it was very, you could hear almost anything anywhere, like anybody from walking in from anywhere. Um, and I said hello, hello. I didn't get an answer. I said, is anybody up there? I went upstairs. I looked all around. Um, And then I just said, "Well, it's a doctor's office. Do you need help?" So then I was like trying to, but I didn't hear anything after that.
Wow. I think I had told you when I was on your show that I caught some voices down in Tombstone on the recorder, which was pretty
Yeah.
cool. Yeah,
I'd love to go to Tombstone just for the history part of it.
yeah,
Like I love historical places. I love historical sites. I love learning the history of places and being in places like that where it's such a pivotal part of history. You know what I mean?
yeah. And they got that all around Arizona. Bisbee which is about 20 minutes south of Tombstone, is supposed to be pretty haunted. Then of course there's Jerome, and then all the other surrounding areas. So we have a lot of stuff that we need to go investigate. Lots of
Yeah.
stuff around Arizona.
Yeah, Jerome, I was telling you, the Arizona treasure hunter,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's right. Yeah.
he used to do ghost tours in Jerome.
Oh wow.
Yeah, he used to hold ghost tours in Jerome. But um, I'm going to Pompeii in 2024.
Oh, wow.
I'm looking forward
Nice.
to that.
That'll be awesome.
And you get to climb Mount Vesuvius. I
Well,
don't know
good
about
luck with
that.
that.
I might hang out with the folks that are down there, and that are still going. No, I don't know if I'm gonna walk up Mount Vesuvius.
Wow.
But yeah, I love
So,
stuff like that.
yeah,
I had Barry on my show, and we talked about the one episode where they were over. I don't know where they were at, but it was an international episode. Yeah. Um, and there was a face that they had caught behind him,
oh, wow.
and on the show they had said that it was an elemental, and
It
then
was a what?
An elemental.
an
Okay.
elemental. Barry
Okay.
called it elemental. Back then, he thought He on my show, he was saying like back then elementals were different to him than what they are now, and he explained that. But that was probably the one of the creepiest things because you could see this face behind him, and he
Wow.
knew something was behind him. He goes, "There's something behind me. I don't like it. I'm calling." He left the investigation that night
Wow.
after that,
Hmm.
and then when they went back and looked, they actually saw what he was feeling.
But yeah, he felt something was behind him. I could have swore. I'm thinking that I saw an episode when he was in, and I can't remember where. It's been such a long time since they were on that he went to go down a flight of stairs, like going into a basement, and there was like this loud growl and a bang against the door, and he was like, "Okay, I'm not going down." Turned around and went back upstairs. He's like, no, 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 no."
So I don't blame him. I literally thought when I was at Hinsdale, I thought I saw a bear and I ran
Oh yeah.
inside.
Wow.
Ran faster than ever. Like even like there was like I thought I was gonna get murdered. There's a tear coming out of my eye and everything. I was running so fast. I was like, all my equipment went flying. I was like, that's a bear. Everybody's like, you're not supposed to run. I was like, you tell me what you're gonna do when you see a
It's
bear.
called fight or
Yep.
flight. I'm not fighting.
Yep.
I was out.
We'll have to get you a dude run shirt.
Yes, I know. My friends were like, you totally pulled a dude run. And my friend Megan was like, you pushed me out of the way. I'm like, I told you to come on. I was out.
I'm sorry, I ain't gonna run. I'm just gonna stand there.
Nope. Nope. I saw in the flash. First, I saw eyeballs and in the flashlight, and then I picked up the flare, and I went like this. And as soon as I picked the flare up and it turned, it had this big body, right? And I was like,
Dude, run.
I was like, that looks like a bear. And they were like, where? I'm like, right there. And I'm pointing. And you can only say that so many times until, like I put the flashlight back up and I see it like walking towards us. I was like,
Wow.
it's coming right for it. I was like, get out of my way. Leave me alone. All my stuff stayed out there for 2.5 hours. I was not going back outside. Nope. I said, that was a bear. That was a bear. You can hear them though after because my recorder was out there. And you can hear them like, what is she talking about? I don't see anything. I don't know what she's talking about. Oh, it's Bambi. Then they thought it was a deer. Then they had to know it wasn't a deer. And then it was like, then 2 hours later, you hear like 3 separate groups of coyotes going like howling at each other. And I'm like,
Wow.
I'm out.
I'm inside. I'll stay inside. I'm happy inside.
Oh, forget that. I would have ran too probably. That's
Yeah.
the
So
instinct. Yeah.
if you've never been to Hinsdale and you go to Hinsdale and you're outside, you want to make sure you have stuff to be able to see your surroundings at night
Yeah.
because it is pitch black and you do not know what is like. You have no idea what kind of animals and stuff are out there, and it is. I can't even. No way.
I got you covered.
Have Brian
Dude,
out there
run,
with
that's not
hope,
gonna
watching my back.
I'm like, Rob, we good? And Rob said, yeah, we good. So, all right, we ain't running.
Oh no, I'm out. Nope. Sorry, guys. If I'm investigating with anybody and they run, I will run with them, and then I'll ask later. Like
When one sister runs, they all run.
Everybody runs.
I'd have to say that's the only time I've ever ran though, ever. Like that, and I ran fast.
That's funny.
I was-
So Eric, Brian, what he say? He don't run. He's actually been thrown against a wall over at St. Albans before.
I ain't run. I'm too old to run.
I know that's what I'm thinking. I'm like, I got bad knees. I can't be taking off.
I know.
running.
I'm like, punch me, push me. I'm not running. Do what you
say
gotta
that
do.
now. You say that now.
It's like when you
Oh,
feel
I've
it's like you're
I've
supposed to
been
expect
punched.
the
I've been
unexpected.
attacked. Yeah,
What'd you say, Brian?
I've been attacked. I got when we were in where were we?
And when you got hit in the head.
Yeah, I was in the morgue and I felt awful and there was I'm like my head started hurting really bad and I went out. I'm like, there's a freaking lump there.
She had a knot on her
Something
head. Yeah, we were.
And I even went to the doctor the next day to make sure everything was okay. And he's like, well, how'd you hurt yourself? I'm like, just say it was an accident.
Yeah, we were.
No,
at
I got,
when that happened,
yeah.
And
I got hit in the head with an entity. I don't know. And doctor
Yeah,
put
you
me
don't
in
want him to
hospital.
get you committed. You don't want to
Yeah,
tell
right.
that story.
it's like, you won't believe me, but just say that I'm okay.
Yeah, yeah.
I'd
My
like-
brain's not bleeding or something.
Robert said, "Dude, run."
Yeah.
Well, as long as I've been doing it, and of all the places I've been to, I've never been physically touched, never been hurt. I've never
Wow.
felt threatened. I've knock on wood. Never.
I get
felt,
it a lot, actually. I've never felt threatened, but I do get touched, attacked, petted. That was weird.
I've heard, like I said, I hear things, and not
Yeah.
all the time. Like I'll hear answers or I'll hear voices, but I've
So-
never.
I've never been threatened, but I have. Like when we were in Oracle, I walk into a room and just had this strong feeling that I was being watched. And I was on a ghost tour one time, and then as a response to me saying it's okay for you to touch me, I felt a, right across the side of my face. It wasn't nothing harmful. It was really
Mhm.
light. Felt like somebody had a feather and just touched the side of my face, which was pretty
Right.
cool. I told my son, he looked at me like, "You crazy?"
Like there's times where I've thought I've been touched, but I feel like I convinced myself that I wasn't because then I'll say, okay, maybe I moved and my shirt moved a certain way and it
Hmm.
kind of like felt like something touched me, or maybe I sat on my hair because my hair literally goes down to like almost my butt, you
Oh
know?
wow, yeah.
Well, it's I have long hair, right? So it could get
I got
stuck
that problem too.
you know.
Eh,
On the
right.
science side of things, stagnant electrostatic can give you all kinds of physical sensations, like your scopastasia, the feeling of being watched. You can feel like prickly feelings, your hair standing up on end. You can actually feel as if it's physical touch. Be surprised what electrostatic can do. So
Yeah.
that's why I have the electrostatic device, because it'll actually it can feel like a cold spot as well.
Is that different? You're saying electrostatical. Is that different than an EMF?
Electrostatic, it's electricity that's just sitting in the air. You know, you rub say you're wearing
Like a
socks and
bubble.
you drag your feet up on a carpet, touch the metal doorknob, you're gonna get a spark. That's electrostatic,
Where
but
do
Yeah.
you where do you get
it can
your stuff
actually.
at?
I'm sorry.
Do you make your stuff? Like where do you get it?
It can no, it can be stagnant right
Turning
in the
out
air.
How
stuff.
do you gauge that? Like how do you know that you said that you use something that
Like
I
your
have an
equipment.
elect I have an electrostatic analyzer. I have a
okay.
device that'll actually pick this up.
Huh.
Say that these are things that I have not heard of. Like you
It's
get it from do you get it from a go like do ghost equipment places make this stuff?
No, most of the equipment I use you will not find at one of those ghost places because that's ghost hunting versus scientific paranormal investigation. So they don't sell anything that I use. I use them. I'm sorry. I buy them primarily off of like Amazon because you can get all kinds of industrial equipment off of Amazon. It's used in the field by various
Mhm.
electricians or other various uh, for particular like people who design computer components. Electrostatic can be detrimental to computer parts, so they'll use it to make sure that there's no electrostatic in the air before they're pulling like motherboards out of their protective packaging. But
Mhm.
so a lot of what I purchase is readily available on Amazon, believe it or not.
So when you so how would you determine like if this device I'm assuming makes a noise if it detects static changes, electric static changes, or
Yeah, it detects electricity in the air. Basically, I'm trying to see if I have it right here with me.
now
That's my microwave detector.
would you use that with something else in order to determine what it is? Like how would you say you knew if you were if it was really electric static or if it was something else causing a disturbance?
Well, electrostatic is kind of unique. I'm actually looking right here to see if I have it right here. Is this it? I kind of have my devices all over the place. I don't know if this will get picked up on the camera here. It might get blocked out. Let me see.
Yeah, I was getting blocked
Yeah,
because of your back.
that's my
There it is.
electrostatic
Yeah, there it
detector.
is.
It has a plate here that can be removed, but this is literally a conductor for electricity, and it picks up the electrostatic in the air, and it'll just show up on the monitor that it's present. But electrostatic's pretty unique. It's not something that can like get misinterpreted as like infrasound or ultrasound or even like gases. It's kind of unique on its own, where it's really not gonna get misinterpreted as something else.
Mhm.
Nice. And you said you get your stuff off of Amazon, huh?
Believe it or not, yeah, because a lot of industries put out their products on Amazon now. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not this equipment that I use is not like specifically designed for paranormal investigations. It has an industrial usage to it, and then I use it, in a paranormal investigation because I'm not looking for the spooky. I'm looking for the science. So
Right.
these science devices
Mhm.
are available all over the place. You just got to know where to look for them. But Amazon, you can find anything on Amazon pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much.
Do you get spooked out though?
Never.
Never. You've never been spooked out, never been scared?
No, I can honestly say that with a straight face. Never. You know,
Um, go ahead.
I was gonna say because with the science mind, my first go to is, that's cool. What science can I analyze here to try and figure this out versus getting spooked out about it. I mean, when I was a little kid, there were some situations, and it was due to a combination of a medical condition I have called tactile hyperestasia. It's basically an overactive nervous system coupled with pareidolia. When I was a kid, I was telling my mom I was seeing aliens. I'd later learn that my body was hypersensitive to stimuli, and I was matrixing or trying to make sense out of confusion. So there was this electric box near my bedroom, and I was matrixing this energy into physical figures. So that scared me as a little kid. But beyond that
It's
one
interesting.
particular thing, it's not something that I've ever been scared of. I actually kind of get excited because I like sciencing the heck out of things. So to me, it's
Yeah.
just like another opportunity to science something. So I get excited.
How often do you go out and get to investigate?
Honestly, not as much as I used to when I was first getting into this physical, empirical investigations like 14 plus years ago, all the time. But now that I have such a background in science and have experienced so much and figured out so much, I'll tell you 95% of the time, people reach out to me. All I need is an interview and I can figure out what's going on with science. Um, and usually I'm right. I'm not saying that to be bragging or anything, but science is pretty simple in a lot of cases. So if you're aware of the science, you can explain things without having to actually go there.
Hmm. Yeah, but you're.
Honestly,
I would love to have you. If I had a team, I would love to have somebody like you on my team.
I'll give a quick example. I brought this up at one of the recent, I think I brought it up on Donna's last show. There was this local older woman, this just happened a couple months ago, where she was experiencing everything from acute anxiety, depression, sleeplessness, pareidolia. She was experiencing ear pain and headaches. So she reached out to an out of town ghost hunting team, not understanding that there's different levels of skill sets that happen in this field. And of course, they're going to try and convince her that everything's haunted because that's what they do. It's fun to
Yeah.
them. I was on the phone with her in 5 minutes and figured it out. When she said ear pain and head pain, it made me believe that there was something being caused by infrasound. And for those who are watching that don't understand, unfamiliar, infrasound or sound frequencies below 20 hertz below our hearing threshold. So I started asking her, is there a generator nearby? Do you have something like an old fan? And she's like, yeah, I actually have an old metallic fan. Long story short, the old metallic fan was making some interesting noises, and I believe that it was creating the infrasound, but that may not completely explain the scopastasia. So I started asking her if she had been remodeling, moving stuff around, and she said she'd been cleaning out a walk-in closet. I'm like, when you were, did you ever have any experiences where you didn't feel comfortable in elevators? She goes, well, I never liked them, but it never kept me from using them. I said, are you stacking boxes all over your room? And she says that's exactly what she's doing. I says, you're not being watched. I said, scopastasia, the feeling of being watched, is often a symptom of acute claustrophobia, the fear of enclosed places. I'm like, you've changed the paradigm of this bedroom of yours. You're so used to it being a
Yeah.
certain feeling in there because of the way things are set up. Now you've changed that. I'm like, clean up your room, get rid of the darn fan. I'm telling you, all these symptoms are going to go away. Guess what? They went away. And that's typically what I do. Is I have a background in medicine too. I'm an EMT on top of 13 years in the pharmaceutical field too, so I have a bit of an understanding of a lot of things when it comes to that, and physics, because I've taught astronomy for 30 years. So often I just do an in-depth interview, and most of the time that's enough to be able to give them some direction on where this may be coming from.
Mhm.
So having that one experience at Rolling Hills,
Yep.
like, would you say you are a believer in something unknown phenomena that you were communicating with? Like, are you a believer or you're not a believer?
No, I definitely, if given yes or no, I'm closer on the yes side, but am I 100% no? Because it's always going to be back in my mind. Was there some science that I missed? Is there some
Fine.
science that humans don't even understand yet? So I'll never be 100%. And I think if you are 100%, you lose your objectivity
Yeah,
to some extent. There's got to be some level of skepticism to be able to have a
thousand
neutral,
percent. Oh,
Oh
I
yeah,
agree
you
with
definitely
know,
it.
got to have some skepticism.
so do I believe that there's stuff out there from what I've seen? Yes. but I'm always going to science the heck out of something. It's just
That's
my
that's
nature.
interesting though that you what you say about yourself, like when you were a kid, and how it was, because so many kids have imaginary friends,
Yep.
or they see things. Now, high EMF can also cause uh, paranoia, make you feel
Mhm.
sick, and stuff like that. Somebody else, there was something else. There was another thing that somebody had brought up that I never knew was. Now I wish I remembered now off the top of my head. But yours thing is a new thing now, the static one. I
Oh yeah,
see how bad I am at explaining things that I hear.
I mean, I've even had cases. You know those plug-in pest control devices? That's actually ultrasound. Motion sensors on lights and security systems. That's ultrasound. And I've actually had cases of perceived paranormal activity that were caused by ultrasound sensitivity.
Now,
I
do you
mean,
have a
there's
device that can tell you how high that is? And like, is there a level for each of these things to where you
yeah,
say, okay,
and for it's for some people, infrasound won't bother them. It's below 20 hertz, and then ultrasound's below 20 kilohertz or 20,000 hertz. For some people, it's just like some people can take Tylenol and it helps them. Some people take Tylenol, they end up in the ER having, anaphylactic shock. It's the same thing with various forms of radiation, which is pretty much what all my devices are doing. It's picking up different types of radiation along the entire electromagnetic spectrum, because for some people, they're sensitive to it and it can cause all types of symptoms that can be misperceived as paranormal. But I'm not saying that paranormal doesn't exist. I've had my experiences. I just want to rule out the science first.
Yeah.
Right.
so if all your equipment remains silent and you're hearing something or feeling something, seeing something, then you could probably conclude that, okay, none of my stuff is picking anything up, but I'm hearing this from seeing this or whatever. Then that's when you are, leaning more towards like this is a phenomena that is not of man-made or isn't.
Yeah, what I do is I have one of those advanced audio recorders, but I have something called a binaural microphone. It's this $500 microphone. It actually is shaped like human ears. It's meant to pick up audio as if we would hear it, versus how the small MEMS mics, the small microelectric mics that are in these voice recorders, pick them up. So I'm able to then hook it up to my analyzation software and try and match it up. Hey, is this a human voice? Is this just something that's coming in through a vent and it's being altered by the acoustics within an air vent? I'm able to analyze it. So I do have other devices once I get to that point where I've ruled out the basic science to then further analyze it. But I want to take all those steps first before I'll be willing to say to myself, hey, there's something paranormal here.
And obviously you document everything for
hmm
sure.
Oh, most of my devices I can do data logging. I hook it up to a laptop that I bring with me, and they all can get hooked up to there, or they record it and I can transfer it to my laptop for analyzation.
So Rolling Hills was one. Where was the? You said there was two.
Okay, so I had this situation. I used to be a professional wrestler, if you can believe that. This is going way back. I used to promote wrestling shows too, and I was at a place called the Palladium in Worcester. Ghost Hunters actually did an episode there. I was refereeing a match in front of, it was like 650, 700 people there. And I remember seeing something out of the corner of my eye. So, I first quickly wrote it off because, in our peripheral vision, so many different things can happen. But I got a more direct look and I thought what I saw, and I can't call it a shadow. It was almost like a patch of darkness, not like black darkness, but like almost as if something was there absorbing the light. You know, um, it kind of froze me for about 10 seconds, and it was a tag team match I was refereeing, and one of the wrestlers in the corner, he's like trying to get my attention. He's like, extreme, extreme, because I wasn't paying attention to the match. And he looked behind me and he looked back at me like he saw whatever it was that I saw. Now, I went back after the event looking for sources of possible, heavy humidity. Maybe it was some sort of gas coming off of, an exhaust. Was it, perhaps smoke coming off of one of the light detectors of fog? And I couldn't find anything. I would have loved to be able to get back in there to do something like that, but the place actually switched over to a different management company. Instead of charging us $500 to get in there to do an event, they wanted $5,000, which is way over our ability to pay because we were a small nonprofit organization.
Right.
So I never got back there with any scientific devices to try and debunk that. But
Wow.
just precursory, it kind of leaned more that direction.
Very cool.
Wow. Nice.
Yeah, I saw. Not after saying I don't ever see anything. I still don't know what this was, so I don't know what it was. But it was when I was on vacation. I was trying to be on vacation. And if anybody saw the first season of American Horror Story, if you can remember
No. Which one?
the first season of American Horror Story, the haunted
I
house.
believe I did see it.
Murder
Yeah.
House.
Yeah.
So that one was probably the best one. I really fell off after that. Like I didn't really watch any more after that. But in that there was it looked like a guy wearing a pleather, all black bodysuit that was supposedly haunting or whatever. It was like this black, just from head to toe, just bodysuit, black bodysuit. And when I was on vacation, then we were at Myrtle Beach, and it was just me and my boyfriend are in the kitchen, and I'm looking at him, and all of a sudden I see the backside of that with like this yellowish glow around it, but it was just half of it, and it walked. It was like it was walking into the other room. Here's the wall, and it went like this, and I couldn't hear anything now this lasted less than 3 seconds probably, but it felt like a lot longer, right? Because I didn't hear anything when I saw this. Even the dog came walking in from the room where it walked into, and I couldn't hear the dog walking on the floor until it got closer. Then I could hear the dog. Hi, baby.
It's
That's
Orion.
Stargazer.
Oh,
Oh, that's Stargazer. Okay,
That's
he's got a
Stargazer.
couple of cats.
aw. You said Orion. I had Apollo, Zeus, Nyx, Eris, and Hera.
Yeah, we have Kristen and I have 3 Maine Coon kittens: Stargazer, Tribble, and Orion. This is the big one. He's got to be about 18 pounds now, and he still has a year and a half to grow.
Oh, he's so
Wow.
cute. Hi, baby.
Say hi.
I love
hi.
cats. Cats are my oh. I don't know if you can see, but it's a heartbeat with a cat on it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we're like at 8:00, so I don't. We'll probably just keep on running our mouth.
It's 10:00 here.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, you
Same
2 hours
here.
ahead. I think he's on Eastern time too.
Yeah, I'm in
Yeah.
New Hampshire. It's
New
10
Hampshire.
p.m. here.
New Hampshire, yeah. I don't know how far that's from Jersey, but
From Jersey, you're probably talking around 6-7 hours.
what? It sounds so much closer. It's so crazy to me when I talk to people or from other places, like that they sound further out and they wind up being closer, or the people that are supposed to sound close to me, but they're actually further out.
Yeah. Ryan, how far are you from Taryn?
Probably about 6 hours,
Oh,
6-7 hours.
he's in North Carolina and she's in Jersey.
Yeah, I'm not proud of that.
Are you from Jersey though? Is that what you're from?
Born and
Oh,
raised.
okay.
Born and raised. I want to move to Gettysburg. One day I'll be living in Gettysburg.
I know that's one of your favorite spots. If not the favorite spot.
Hi.
Oh, there's her cat.
Well, is everybody showing their fur babies off? Mine's like one of them's right here. I don't know if you can see them. Just like passed out.
This is Loki.
I think Bella's under my bed, my little Chihuahua mix.
Hank just left the building.
Everybody's got their fur babies.
Oh,
All right, guys. Well, I appreciate you guys coming on and hanging out with me tonight. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much for having us.
Oh, yeah.
You're welcome. Good
Thank
conversation. Yeah, like I said, guys, we're going to be off for 2 weeks for Christmas
Goodbye.
and New Year's. So We will see you guys in the new year. I appreciate it. Thanks for. Oh, I don't know if I put that up or not.
Yeah, happy holidays, everybody.
Yeah, have
Oh,
a
yeah.
Merry Christmas. See you in the new
Eric,
year.
I'll have to have Eric on Paranormal Brew.
Oh yeah, my sister
Yeah,
said she
definitely.
cut out
I'm
her
interested. I
internet
want
was
to hear
acting
more.
up. My sister's internet was acting up. That's how she ended up falling out. So
Oh.
yeah. Okay, so hold on and I'll get our intro going. I mean our outro going, sorry.
I was like, intro. Wait a minute.